Well, here we are at Chapman Creek Fish Hatchery, where Paul and I are going to go catch up with Bob Anstead to go ask him a few questions about the hatchery's role in salmon enhancement on the Sunshine Coast.
Okay, I grew up in Santa Cruz, California in the 50s and 60s. I started noticing by the time I was out of high school the dwindling populations of steelhead in our local creeks and rivers. As the population grew, the water supply was dwindling, and it had a great impact on the ability of steelhead, for instance, to survive in the environment. So I decided at that time that I was going to go into fisheries. When I got out of the service, I got into California Fish and Game. Shortly after that, at Oregon Fish and Wildlife. I worked for independent salmon ocean ranching company in Oregon, and then moved to BC. And I've been here now for 25 years, and I've been working at this particular hatchery for 15 years. When we started the hatchery, Chapman Creek had a historical return for coho of between 40 and 80 fish per season, from the 1940s right up until 1990. 1993, we started introducing coho into Chapman Creek, and within 2 years after that we had returns of 1,500 to 2,000 coho coming back. 40 to 80 fish doesn't really provide much of a sustainable fishery, but when you get numbers in 1,000 coho returning to a 3-mile stretch of river, it creates a lot of interest. That provides an economic benefit to the local community from people wanting to come and catch these fish, as well as a huge benefit to the ecosystem of having so many salmon coming into a system, providing feed for eagles and otters and every part of the ecosystem that you can imagine. This is why we do it. Unless you put fish back into the system, they will be depleted. So what we're going to do is take these pink salmon that have used up almost all of their yolk sac as their food source while they're in the trays. There's about 8,500 in this tray. And we're going to put them into Chapman Creek. From there, with the daylight exposure, they'll swim out a little bit, go into the rocks. This evening they'll come up out of the rocks and they'll go right to the ocean. You can tell by the color that they're smolted and they're ready for seed. It's the silvery bellies and dark backs. That's the ocean camouflage color. The facility here is big enough to return coho salmon to every stream from Egmont to Gibson's. We can raise well over 300,000 coho here. We're only allowed to raise and release 70,000 for our own use, and we also work with the Indian bands so that they can release more salmon into their areas as well. In addition to our success with coho, with help from the Seashelt Indian Band, we were able to establish a pink salmon run in Chapman Creek. These fish arrive in July and August and provide excellent recreational fishery. They also provide a lot of nutrient to the stream as far as the food situation when these fry are coming out of the gravel. They provide nutrients for the steelhead and cutthroat trout that are on their way downstream to the ocean, and they provide a great benefit to the fish in the ocean itself. By this evening, the dinner bell will ring, and there'll be predators up and down here after these fish. We'll put in about 20,000 today, and then you can see how they're not used to the sunlight, so they're spreading themselves out and getting under the rocks. We're a nonprofit society. We have about 15 volunteers that come in on a regular basis, a couple hours a week for each one. And we have as many as 30 or 40 volunteers that will show up for an event to help us with marking salmon and those types of things. So we're very well supported through the community. The society survives on donations made by individuals and businesses from the Sunshine Coast, as well as grants through government agencies and foundations like Pacific Salmon Foundation and Shell Environmental Fund, Vancouver Fund. And we get a total of $12,500 to operate the facility. We have to raise about another $130,000 a year to keep it going. As far as the future goes, I think everyone can see the environmental degradation happening in all communities as populations start to grow. And one of the easiest to see is the decline of salmon and steelhead returning to the local streams, as well as the diminished water supply and habitat in those streams. So in the future, I'd like to see small sustainable hatcheries in most areas and most communities. The cost would not be great, and the returns would be significant. And so now Chapman Creek has Chinook, coho, chum, pink, steelhead, and sea-run cutthroat. And we have 9 months of fishing, where we used to only have a couple of months a year when it was able to fish. Any community on the coast with a stream can do the same thing that we're doing. So if you want to work with us, we're here to help.